Hey, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about today why this is going to be the definitive elk cartridge going forward for a lot of people, the 6.5 Creedmoor. Stick around to find out why. There's been a lot of debate over the years of whether or not the 6.5 Creedmoor is a sufficient cartridge to take elk, especially out west where the distances are a little bit longer. Because of the diminutive size of the cartridge, it's a 6.5 millimeter bullet, usually in the 140 grain range. And there's been a lot of argument that this is not sufficient for elk, even though a lot of people have proven that it is more than capable of taking elk-sized game or bigger at reasonable distances. And a lot of people have done it over the last 10, 15, 20 years, almost 20 years now since the 6.5 Creedmoor came out. But it's been a hotly debated cartridge. It's one of the most love to hate type of cartridges out there. Personally, I love the cartridge. I love what it's capable of for long range shooting, precision and accuracy, just extreme distances, the ease of use, the availability, and all those good things. All those things are wonderful about the 6.5 Creedmoor. It's a great deer cartridge, it's a great varmint cartridge, it's all those things. History, so far, recent history, ballistically has proven that this cartridge is more than capable of a lot of really great things. But where it has come into contention the most is with large, heavy game, elk and that kind of thing. People say it's just not enough and you have to have a Magnum. Now, despite the fact that there are plenty of anecdotal evidences out there and personal experiences of people who've hunted with this, especially smaller statured shooters or new shooters who've already been hunting elk with the 6.5 Creedmoor and successfully taking large game at some pretty decent distances, not super extreme ranges, but decent distances, I think now we have a reason to believe that the 6.5 Creedmoor might just be the perfect large game elk cartridge, even out west at longer distances for most people, because of some new developments from Federal Premium or Federal Ammunition. Now we're going to piggyback off of a lot of videos. There's a lot of buzz going on this week. I've watched a lot of videos about it this week, and I've been skeptical. The 6.5 Creedmoor is now being added to the Peak alloy line that Federal produces. They introduced this line with the 7.5, or the 7 millimeter backcountry. So the 7 millimeter backcountry is about the same size as a 280 Ackley or 280 Remington, that kind of thing, shooting a 7 millimeter bullet in a long action. But the key to the technology of getting extreme velocities out of shorter barrels with that 7 backcountry is the Peak alloy case that they have put on the cartridge. Now that Peak alloy is like a steel alloy type of mix. I'm not 100% sure the metallurgy behind it, but it allows a higher pressure point for the cartridge to operate at, thereby maximizing the velocity you can get out of those 7 millimeter projectiles in a large, a standard long action type of thing. So it was pushing a lot faster, and it was a really good competitor to like things like the 7 PRC and stuff like that. You get some pretty high velocities out of that 7 backcountry, turning it into an amazing cartridge for super long range, heavy dense bone, bone game animal, that kind of thing, elk and all that good stuff. At first I was skeptical about it because of the Peak alloy technology. It's an unfamiliar thing to the industry. It's new to the industry, and to me is just a little bit like, I don't know if I want to mess with those kind of cases if I can't reload them or what. You don't really know what's going on with it. Like, can I reload this? Is it too specialty? Is it going to be too expensive? All those good things. But Federal has come and given a lot of information about that. Like, yes, these cartridges are reloadable and all this good stuff. So the 7 backcountry really started grabbing hold last year, but I still think it's outside the envelope of operating that most people want to do or can do in their hunting rifles for long range hunting. It's a specialty, it's a niche thing. It's a niche cartridge, shooting a niche alloy case and long action, all those good things, Magnum velocities, Magnum recoil, all those good things. So a lot of people may not be as drawn to it as they would be something like a 6.5 Creedmoor. So what Federal has done is they have now started making, and they're going to be releasing later on this summer, the 6.5 Creedmoor Plus Peak. So it's the Plus P Peak alloy case for the 6.5 Creedmoor that will fit in existing 6.5 Creedmoor rifles. So where the gain really comes in something like the 6.5 Creedmoor by just swapping out that case for the Peak alloy case is about 200 to 300 or maybe even more feet per second of velocity with the same type and style of bullets the 6.5 Creedmoor thrives in, and maybe even a little heavier. So let's dive into that. So before I dive into why I think the 6.5 Creedmoor could very quickly become the definitive elk cartridge and all-around hunting cartridge, let's just look at what Federal is actually offering in this Plus Peak 6.5 Creedmoor, and this is from their website. They're going to be offering the terminal ascent bullet. I'm assuming that's around probably about 140 grain or thereabouts. They're going to be offering a tipped fusion bullet, so there's something a little probably less expensive, maybe not as high a BC, but going pretty darn fast. The terminal ascent and all those are rated for going at least 3,100 feet per second, potentially, out of a 24-inch barreled 6.5 Creedmoor, which beats the 6.5 PRC by a good 100 feet per second, which is amazing because it's a shorter, lighter package, using standard actions and stuff like that. Small, regular bolt heads like you would on a standard Remington 700 for everything else. They're also going to be offering the Fusion. Let's see, there's the Fusion 155 grain. Okay, the terminal ascent's going to be 130 grain. The Fusion's 155 grain. And 3,100 feet per second for the terminal ascent out of a 24-inch barrel. The other three offerings that they're advertising on their website are going to be the gold medal Sierra tipped Match King. So I'm assuming that's a 140 to 142 grain bullet, and that is probably going to be pushing close to 3,000 feet per second, I would say, on average, based on just the information available. That's an amazing thing. That is a phenomenal target bullet right there. They're going to be offering the Barnes LRX, so that's a fantastic elk bullet right there. Maybe the 127 grain bullet. Imagine that bullet, the Barnes LRX, which is a fantastic long range bullet. It's a fantastic elk bullet. I mean, we're talking deep penetration, expansion, all those good things, massive tissue damage, going 2,900 to 3,000 feet per second out of a standard rifle, standard size rifle, 24-inch barreled 6.5 Creedmoor. That's an absolutely devastating round. I mean, you can get through just about anything you need to get through with that bullet going those speeds, and it extends your range by hundreds of yards. Not just, right now the 6.5 Creedmoor is considered, if at all considered for elk, it's considered, maybe the 300-yard range we're in, like a short range, close quarters type of bullet that is sufficient at those distances because of speed, size, and velocity, expansion and all that good stuff to get through an elk, but only at shorter ranges. That's the only place it's really considered to be viable for that. Add this bullet to it and add 300 feet per second to that, and you've extended that range beyond 600 yards, which is an extreme range for most people to hunt at, well beyond the capability or even need for most hunters. They're also going to be looking at the 180 or 156 Burger Elite Hunter. I believe it's the 156. I'm going to do some math on that here in a minute. And a picture of the 156. So I've got some data on the 156 on this rifle I'm going to talk about, and this is what, to me, quantifies this whole thing as a definitive elk cartridge, and I'm going to get into that in a second. But that's an amazing bullet as well, with high BC, super long range shooting. Let's go. All right, so here's why, to me, I think that this could become very quickly the definitive elk cartridge, because the trend nowadays is for short actions, lighter recoil, easier to shoot, easier to find ammo. So the 6.5 Creedmoor ammo is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's all over the place. You can find it. And shorter barrels suppress, something like this, an 18-inch rifle with a suppressor on it. And when you look at that package, this being the average, this type of setup is really the trend right now for most people, and for a lot of great reasons. It's lighter, easier to handle, nimble. You can put a suppressor on it and it doesn't feel like you're carrying around a jousting lance in the woods, that type of thing. But the cartridge is what usually is the detractor to a package like this. Like, you lose a lot of velocity versus a 24-inch barrel. So if you're going with an 18-inch barrel 6.5 Creedmoor in something just standard, like let's say let's pull up a hunting bullet. For comparison's sake, I went ahead and went with the 140 VLDH. The VLD Hunter in 6.5 Creedmoor. This is data that I have for this rifle right now. It's 18-inch barrel, and I'm shooting about 2,650 feet per second. So it's actually moving pretty good out of an 18-inch barrel. And I lose my threshold, let's say the threshold being 1,500 foot-pounds for an elk of energy. I lose that threshold about 375 to 400 with that bullet in this rifle right now. That's still more than sufficient. If you're hunting an elk out to that range, saying 1,500 foot-pounds is the reasonable threshold for penetration, expansion, all that good stuff, moving 2,200 feet per second. I'm losing that about 400 yards. That's still a good distance to hunt elk. That's probably well outside the range most people are actually going to hunt an elk with, something like that. However, it doesn't give you the maximum potential as something like a 6.5 PRC or a 7mm PRC or a 7 Rim Mag, something like that. You definitely get a little bit more range, you get a little bit more punch out of those type of cartridges, even at that shorter distance of 400 yards. You've got a lot more foot-pounds, you got a lot more energy being transferred into the animal. But if I had to take that 140 VLDH, which I have data for in this package, shooting 2600, say 2660 at the muzzle, or 2650 at the muzzle, and I add the Peak Plus or Peak Alloy case technology to that, theorizing a gain of about 200 to 300 feet per second. So let's split the difference, say 250. Say I gain 250 feet per second on this bullet out of this gun. Crunching the numbers here, same gun, same bullet, adding 200-ish feet per second. I just kind of rounded it up to 225 to make it an even number. So 2,900 feet per second. Let's say we can get 2,900 feet per second out of this dude with that Plus Peak Alloy case. It extends the range of useful and effective damage on an elk size game out to about 625 yards. So I've gained almost 200 yards there. I've lowered the wind drift, I've lowered the drop, I've done all those things. I've flattened things out a little bit and made them a little more, you know, a little more slippery, and added 200 to 250 yards on average. Let's say we're shooting for an average here of distance and range for killing large game with this rifle right here in this short kind of trendy configuration of today with a suppressor and an 18-inch barrel. That's amazing. It really is amazing. You're getting up to close to at least the 270 Winchester, if not kind of beating it. You've definitely beat the 6.5 PRC with these numbers and stuff like that. So it's not quite as juicy as something like a 7 PRC, but you also have to factor in and consider what you gain. You gain shorter action, lighter recoil, easy to find ammo, and even for practice ammo. So say you have your 6.5 Creedmoor already and you're like, all right, well, I don't want to build a special rifle just for the Plus Peak. You don't have to. You can use the same rifle with the same ammo. You can practice with the inexpensive off-the-shelf type of stuff all year long with your brass cased ammo. You can just practice and shoot and get your shooting in for cheap. And then when it's hunting season, dial your zero in for your Plus Peak, and off you go. And you've gotten yourself 200 to 300 feet per second more and a more effective weapon at further distances for heavy game than you had before. And you haven't had to change anything or buy a new gun. All you've had to do is buy a different ammo. Now the ammo cost they're saying is going to be about the same or comparable to their standard 6.5 Creedmoor ammo that is like terminal ascent stuff and all that good stuff. They say in theory that their prices are going to remain about the same, so you're not going to be paying an obscene amount of money for this ammo either. Whereas if you compare it to something like a 7 PRC, the 7 Backcountry, the 300 whiz bangs, and all the fancy elk cartridges out there right now, there is a considerable difference in the cost between that and something like the 6.5 Creedmoor, and it is reloadable. So the Plus Peak, according to Federal, and according to some people that I've watched and read their blogs and stuff like that, it is reloadable. You can actually reload this stuff 2 to 3, maybe even more times. And if they're going to be selling the brass too straight out of the gate, they're going to be selling loaded ammunition and brass for reloading. So they've tested all this. I'm assuming they've gone through thousands of rounds of this stuff in all the different scenarios and types that the average consumer may run into or may use this case for, and they've tested it and found it to be good. So that's pretty exciting. All right, so let's really turn this up a notch with the bullet that really has me excited in this line, and that's their Berger Elite Hunter. Their claimed muzzle velocity is 2,900 feet per second. So that's out of same velocity as a 24-inch barrel 6.5 PRC. That's with a 20-inch barrel, I believe, from the way it kind of reads on their website. So 2,900 feet per second out of a 20-inch barrel 6.5 Creedmoor with a 156 grain Berger Elite Hunter. That's the bullet that really has me excited. The Elite Hunter is a fantastic bullet. 156 grain. It's got a G7 ballistic coefficient of 0.347, and 2,900 feet per second is cooking. So let's do some quick math on that. I'm going to look at what I have right now, because on average, I've shot the 156s before out of this rifle and others like it, and the velocities I'm getting, maybe 2,500, maybe 26 if I really push it. And that's a great bullet. It's a great velocity. It's great for close work, 300 or 400 yards, because it's a really efficient, sleek and long, high ballistic coefficient bullet. But it kind of limits you, even if you're going to use that for elk, which is, for me, if I were going to go after elk with a 6.5 Creedmoor right now, as is in a regular case, I would probably use the 156 Elite Hunter. It just gives you more mass and more terminal effect, but you got to be up close. You got to be kind of closer range for that kind of thing. So let's calculate that bullet at 2,900 feet per second, say in a 20 inch barrel. So this is an 18-inch barrel, so I'm going to lose a little velocity here, okay? But I'm just going to calculate it at 2,900 because that's what's advertised on their website. And for, you know, the density, altitude, and the temperatures that are kind of average during elk season around here, this is what I'm calculating for. And we're looking at a 1,500 foot-pound threshold. So using that again as our metric for penetration and terminal damage and all those good things, you're still moving over 2,000 feet per second, 1,500 foot-pounds of energy with a 156 grain bullet plus peak alloy based on their numbers. Right now, you're looking at a useful range of about 825 yards. Look, if you're shooting a bull elk at 825 yards, you got some brass ones, that's for sure. That's a long shot. That's a very, very long shot. It is well outside the envelope of most people's useful ability to even shoot accurately and hit game ethically at those distances. I would never recommend it for most people, but the bullet in the cartridge in that plus peak ammo is capable of, at least terminally, at least on the math, based on the 1,500 foot-pounds and the 2,000 feet per second energy and all those good things, it looks like it's capable out to 800 yards or maybe slightly beyond in most environments. Mine, being high altitude, is probably going to be a little sleeker and a little easier. Most elk country is a little higher altitude, so you could say comfortably that it turns the 6.5 Creedmoor, a shorter barreled 18 to 20 inch barrel gun in this more trendy configuration and more standard configuration for today, into a 700 yard plus elk gun. That's more than 99.9% of people will ever need to hunt elk with. And the argument that the 6.5 Creedmoor just doesn't have enough frontal diameter size to actually do enough damage on an elk to kill it is a moot argument. There are enough people out there that have hunted elk now and even larger stuff like that with the 6.5 Creedmoor more than successfully. There's enough ballistic testing, there's enough gel testing, there's enough terminal damage testing, FBI, all the things, to prove that the 6.5 Creedmoor, the 6.5 diameter bullet, has more than enough mass, especially with the long, sleek bullets with high sectional densities and high ballistic coefficients, to do extreme amounts of terminal damage. Because to me, and to most people who are professional hunters that are actually really experienced people, bullet construction and shot placement are king. They outdo everything. It doesn't matter how big your bullet is. If you put it in the wrong place, it's not going to take the animal ethically. It's not going to take down the target ethically. But if you take a high efficient, high BC bullet with good construction and you put it where it needs to be, and you can put it where it needs to be because you've got the velocities to do it, you've got the accuracy to do it, and you have the rifle that it's easy enough to shoot. For one, it doesn't kick you to death, so it's real easy to shoot, and it's real comfortable to be accurate and precise with. You put that bullet in the right place, animal's going down, no question. Doesn't matter what size it is. Oh, and one final side note that I didn't really touch on in the video, long range target shooting. Just thin skin game at super long range. The plus peak going over 2,800 feet per second, the 156, so just the 156 Burger Elite Hunter, going over 2,800 feet per second, which is going to be more well within the threshold of what this cartridge will do in the plus peak. So you're theorizing about 2,900 out of an 18-inch barrel, let's say 2,850, whatever, anywhere over the 2,800 foot per second threshold. That 156 Burger is supersonic beyond a mile. At my altitude, I'm high altitude, so I'm at about 5,400 feet. Supersonic beyond a mile at a 6.5 Creedmoor with a 156 grain bullet. That's a whole different animal when it comes to long range target shooting with a short action cartridge. That's the beauty of this. It's a short action, light recoiling, easy to shoot cartridge. If you can't shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor well, I've said it in other videos, if you cannot shoot and find a 6.5 Creedmoor that shoots well with a variety of bullets, variety of styles and barrel lengths and cartridges, all those good things, brother, you need to think about a different hobby. Maybe crochet, something like that. I don't know. All right, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching and sticking through the video. This is really exciting. I know this is kind of piggybacking on a lot of the videos that have come out this week, but I got all excited about it and started looking into this peak alloy technology. I was skeptical at first, but now after reading up on it a little bit and looking at the information from Federal and stuff like that, and the fact that it is reloadable, safe chamber pressures for standard rifles in the 6.5 Creedmoor especially, I think it's turning one of my already really favored cartridges into maybe my new overall forever favorite, like this, because it just gives you more capability. I like my 7 PRC. I really love that thing. It's a great, phenomenal, you know, cartridge and package, and I like the way it shoots. I like the distance and the effect on game you get, and energy and all those good things downrange. And I think it's something worth keeping in the stable, especially if you already have a dedicated elk gun. But if you are new to long range hunting in general, not just elk, but long range hunting or hunting anyway, in any kind of type of capacity, and you're looking at getting something that's easy to reload, easy to shoot, easy to find ammo for, easy to find guns for, like there's arguably the most produced gun right now in the market is the 6.5 Creedmoor. Well, you can take a 6.5 Creedmoor now, and it don't need much more. Actually, don't need any more. You might just need more ammo. Yeah, so you take that 6.5 Creedmoor, you turn it into a different animal with that plus peak case, and I think it's got some promise, man. I think it really does. It's got some promise to be a really, really awesome addition to the market and really skyrocket something like this, as simple as a 6.5 Creedmoor, into true stardom, like legendary status now. I can't wait to get my hands on some of this ammo. They don't have it on the shelves yet. I'm not I don't have any industry connections to get some before launch and all that good stuff. I'm not a professional blogger, professional hunter, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna have to wait like everybody else and get some of this ammo and start testing it just to see. This is gonna be my test bed rifle, and if it works out well in this, what I'm actually gonna do, I was gonna build an XM3 clone rifle this year based off of the old DARPA sniper rifle program. I was thinking about what cartridge to use. Could it, go with like a 300 Win short mag, or 6.5 PRC, or 7 mil Wisdom, something like that, something really juicy and spicy, because I wanted a little bit more, I guess, swagger than the 308 offers. I like the 308, I love the 308, I've got some 308s, I'm gonna keep my 308s. But in that DARPA rifle that I'm gonna clone out, I wanted something with a little more swagger and also kind of available too. I think this answers my question right here, what cartridge I'm going with in that next build for the DARPA rifle. I'm gonna go with 6.5 Creedmoor, and I'm gonna put a pretty high alloy barrel on it, like a sturdy, higher density alloy or higher hardness alloy than 416 stainless on it. I'm probably gonna use a chromoly barrel of some kind, maybe if I can get a Lothar Walther barrel for it, because they're going to last longer. And that's one of the concerns with this plus peak stuff is barrel life. Is it gonna affect barrel life? I don't know. I don't see any definitive proof that it's gonna degrade barrel life on a 6.5 Creedmoor. It probably will lower it just a little bit. This is a theory, just because of velocities and pressures and stuff like that. 80,000 psi, shooting a heavier bullet a little faster, it's going to erode your throat quicker and stuff like that. So if you put a higher grade alloy barrel on something like a cut rifled chromoly type of barrel, which are a little bit harder, they're going to last a little bit longer, you might gain back that barrel life. Will it sacrifice accuracy? I doubt it. I've seen a lot of chromoly barrels, especially stuff from like Criterion and Lothar Walther and stuff like that, that are phenomenally accurate. You cannot tell the difference between them and a 416 stainless barrel. The 416 stainless barrels, being a softer material that is hardenable, just makes it a little easier to make them accurate and to cut them more precisely. So you might have to do a little bit more work with your barrel to get it quite as accurate, a little bit more tuning with your load. But if you're pushing 200 to 300 feet per second faster, and you're still in that sub-minute range, which is what I'm shooting for with my build in the future, with an 18-inch barrel suppressed and all that good stuff, brother, that's all I'll ever need for taking most game. I don't know. What do y'all think? Y'all let me know. Get in the comments below. What do you think about this new idea, the new cartridge, the new technology coming out from Federal, the Peak alloy in the 6.5 Creedmoor? But I just don't think it needs much more after this. That's why I'm sold. I'm sold. I think it'll work. Sold to test it. I'm sold to at least test it and see if the theory holds true, and see if the advertisement holds true from Federal. All right, y'all, keep your knife sharp, keep your powder dry, keep your magazines loaded, and be blessed.